Okay, welcome to the second part of my pressure fluid upthrust atmospheric pressure lesson. I'm calling this one lesson 16 to break it up. And in this one, we're going to look at why things float. So, upthrust is our next title, number 3 of the 4. We've taken an object, let's take a football, for example, and we've put it in the water. And the question is, will it float? I'm pretty sure if you've ever watched Brainiac, that was one of their features. Now, if we took the region here, region A, and region B, which side would have the greater pressure exerted on it? Hopefully you've said region B. Region B would have a greater pressure because if we look at the equation, pressure equals rho g h from our previous lesson over here, we can see that as we go down deeper, as the column height gets greater, then the pressure increases. So the pressure at the bottom of the ball is going to be less than the pressure on the top of the ball. And what that's going to do is give us a resultant pressure, and that's going to result in a resultant force. And we call that the upthrust. Now, fun fact, if you took the displaced volume of the ball, so if I take a copy of the ball, and I did a bit like Archimedes did when he got in the bath, and measured the volume of the ball, so let's colour it in, I'll use a blue. If we find the weight of the displaced ball, so the upthrust is equal to the weight of the water that is displaced. Okay, so this is the displaced water. I've coloured it in blue to represent. Technically you don't need those bits on it because it's just water now. Let's get rid of those a minute. So that's the volume of the water that's been displaced by the ball. Okay, and the upthrust is equal to the weight of displaced water. So if the weight of the water, I'll just put WW, weight of water, was 22 newtons, then the upthrust will also be 22 newtons. Now, what about things that float? So, for things to float, we need them to be balanced. So I'm just going to grab that, put them over here. So, we can say, if upthrust is equal to the object's weight, then we will get a floater. It will float. But if it's not, if the upthrust is less than, I think that's the right, I never used less than and more than enough. Pretty sure that's smaller than. Yeah, little crocodile, big mouth. Then the object's weight. If I've made a mistake, you'll correct it. You guys do it on more than me. It will sink. Okay, so that's upthrust in a nutshell. To recap, the force at the top of the object is smaller than the force at the bottom of the object. The difference creates an upthrust force. The amount of displaced water by the object is equal to the upthrust. So if you find the weight of the displaced water, you can find the upthrust acting on it. If they're equal, if the upthrust generated is equal to the weight of the object, then it will float. If it is smaller than the weight of the object, it will sink. Now let's look at atmospheric pressure. Again, referring to our equation we used earlier, where pressure is equal to rho g h, we also see why going higher up can cause the feeling of pressure on our ears to change. So here we're going to have atmospheric pressure. I'm just going to put pressure. Okay, here we have elevation. Like so. Now, if we are at sea level, that is the highest pressure we will get. So you and I, we're sat pretty much at sea level, give or take a couple of 100 feet. And so it's 101 kilopascals. And as we go higher, imagine I've turned my graph sideways now. As we go higher and higher and higher, there is less and less atmosphere above our heads. And so now, if we went somewhere like the top of Mount Everest, there is less atmosphere above you. And so there are less collisions from the gas particles on you. And that results in a less density. I'll write this up in a minute. Less density pushing on you. And so, and the column of gas above your head is smaller because you've nearly run out. Let's draw it. Let's draw sea level. Let's draw a mountain. There we go. Side view. So here, you've got at sea level, you've got high density, and you've also got a very large column, about 60 miles, of gas above your head. Go to the highest of mountains, and you've got low pressure, low density, and to get to space, you've got less height, like so. So this is why at the top of Mount Everest, it's really hard to breathe. There's very low oxygen density. The pressure on you is very low. And funnily enough, cups of tea. Put things in terms of science of cups of tea and people get it. Boil a kettle at 100 degrees, where we are. And that's because those particles that are in the cup, they need enough energy to break free against the atmosphere that's pushing down on them. So there's the cup, there's my particles. They want to get free. They want to change and transition into a gas. So they're vibrating more and more, we're heating it up. But on top of them is this column of air all pushing down. And it's only when you reach 100 degrees do they have enough energy to break out into the atmosphere. Well, what happens if you go to the top of Mount Everest is it boils at around 60, 65 degrees because there is less air above you. There is less pressure pushing down. And so the particles can now break free at a far lower pressure and at a lower temperature. So you can't have a hot cup of tea at the top of Mount Everest. Not that you would want to stay there for long anyway. So that concludes everything for this lesson. Actually, let's just write that up into a few key facts. So we'll put sea level. Let's get this right. Let's write what pressure is first. So atmospheric pressure is due to collisions of particles. We learnt that in paper 1, topic 3, particles. Around the same time we learnt about density when I talked about it here. So again, if you're unfamiliar, go back, have a little look at the pressure equation and everything there as well. So atmospheric pressure is due to the collision of particles. As you increase altitude, there are less particles, so less collisions, so less, I'm sure this isn't grammatically correct, so less pressure. There we go. Get that highlighted. It's a pretty key concept. I've seen questions about that before. Explain why atmospheric pressure decreases as you increase your altitude, and it boils down to it boils down to pressure is caused by collisions of particles, and as you increase the altitude, there's less particles, so there are less collisions, which then results in less pressure against you. Okay, and that definitely concludes my second of the pressure lessons.